I do want to open up with the advertising, because this is something that we've all complained about. I think it's safe to admit that they're just not the greatest with messaging. Their marketing has been subpar at best at times. We just don't see it. And I think where we get that from is you look at Sony and you see that, I mean, they go like in on marketing, and that's Sony Pictures. You got to understand, they're a movie house first. Yes, they own PlayStation, but Sony Pictures, they just know how to market. It's just what they do. And I think a lot of people, compare one to the other, which of course is very fair, Crispy Bomb. But I have to say, the marketing for Avowed has been dialed up to 12. Everywhere I look, whether it be on the PC doing stuff for the shows, I get an advertisement for Avowed. Whether it be on I turn on the first thing I do, I turn on my Samsung TV, and the entire screen is Avowed. And it's not even the same picture; it's constantly different pictures of Avowed. We've seen it show up in Times Square. Aaron Greenberg tweeted some stuff that it's being shown off in a big way in Germany. They are really pushing the envelope for this game, and I love to see it. I love to see that not only are they pushing Xbox Game Pass, hey, you can get this game in Xbox Game Pass, but they're pushing the fact that it's an Obsidian game. And it is, there you go, folks. It's an Obsidian RPG. You should be excited. And I love the fact that, you see Phil tweeting about it. You see Aaron tweeting about it. There's ads all over the place. I'm not saying that their woes are fixed, because they still have a lot to go. But I am going to say, Crispy, this is definitely 2 or even 3 steps in the right direction. Let's get your thoughts on the advertising for Avowed.
Well, I mean, I want to tell the chat, and this is where I'm going to leave it. The green room was lit, my friends. And just what you see, and this is almost, I look at it as the Gears 4 effect. Like, I think we're in for something that is going to be incredible, because what they showed at the beginning is not what it is now. And I think a lot of people are not ready for it. And when it comes out, and I got to give Xbox credit, when they have something they know is good, they push it hard. And they have, I mean, even Hellblade, like it got a good amount of advertising and all that stuff, but this one's on a next level, throwing the I mean, just crazy. Like, how much it costs to have something advertised in Times Square? It's a lot of money. Okay. It's not a joke. And you see stuff like that, and you see how they're doing this 3D aspect and all these things. You see how they are really pushing the advertising. They are listening to us. See, this is why they tweet out. They say, "Hey, we're listening. We understand." Like, when you got we didn't see any of this from Redfall. That's for a reason, okay? Like, dollars spent is dollars earned, people. Like, you gotta understand that if you're not going to make the dollars, if it's just it's just worthy for Game Pass, and nobody wants to pay the $22 to have the upgrade, which is absurd when it's $100 if you buy it outright and don't have Game Pass. I mean, think about that. That's what, $78 difference. Like, that's kind of crazy. So you look at that and you say, man, they're pushing it hard, and it just gets me more amped. And I think that's what we want Xbox to do. Get us amped about it. Like, I saw some people like, oh, it was too late. What do you mean it's too late?
Yeah.
What else is coming out right now? Well, you got Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you got that. I mean, you want to buy it. If you're on Xbox and you have Game Pass, yeah, I might buy it. Okay, there you go. But for us, we're waiting for something. We're like, oh, yeah, well, I'll pay the $22 to have a 2-day early. Like, why not? Like, it's not like hey, I'm not buying the game, and honestly, I'm sure we'll get some magical stuff. I haven't looked into the details, you know what I mean? But that's the point. Like, contribute in a different way. I mean, we're in a realm where, Fortnite can sell skins to no end.
Yep.
These type of things happen. So, like, you go and your Game Pass sub, you get the benefits of that, and you say, oh, you could pay the $22 and we'll give you stuff. And it's like we buy cosmetics for a game that is not physical realm at all, and we've done it for years. And now all of a sudden, like, oh, it's not pro consumer. I think it's very pro consumer. So you look at that and you say, why wouldn't they push this? Seems like that delay has really made them realize how good, and I'm talking about Microsoft / Xbox, made them realize how good Obsidian is. And what have I always said? Obsidian is going to be the greatest purchase they've ever made. Okay. Because it wasn't that much. It's not a Bethesda. Bethesda does great stuff. I mean, we got Doom the Dark Ages coming. Man, how much time am I going to have? Boom. Like,
Dude.
seriously, like, I don't even know what to do with myself right now. I'm still getting my butt whooped in Ninja Gaiden Black. Like, what are we talking about here? And that's where I say, like, you know, you can be mad, you can be happy, you can just sub. I mean, you could have a Samsung TV like me and Boom have that is like, a 2023 plus. Okay, like once it's 2023, it has all, like, everything's in there. I could play the game off my console or off my TV. Okay, that's where I say you get invested in the Xbox ecosystem, and then you become enamored in the fact that you have all of these games in front of you that you have no clue what to do with because there's too many. Okay. And that's a good thing right now, because at the end of the day, we are all sitting here like, what's actually going to happen at the end of the day? Are we going to, be able to play the games we want to play? You don't have that problem when you're Game Pass sub. You just don't. And for them to actually put it out there, I mean, especially the Germany one, I was impressed with that, because usually they don't even try to touch Europe. But I think that's a part of the next topic, but I'll leave it at that.
No, great points all around. I think there is something to be said about taking it to another level. I think they are finally in that cadence, a Silent Cipher, that we heard Matt Booty talk about. If you remember, a couple of years ago, he was heard talking, and he was quoted at a really bad time for Xbox. That year, they had just not their all their exclusives got delayed. They had a few, console exclusives through Game Pass, but it wasn't enough. So of course, when you mix and match those together, it's just a bad look. Well, now they're hitting on all cylinders, right? This is something that Xbox gamers have been asking for years, is to have an equal amount of games in the first half of the year, and then have a matching second half, which is what's going to happen in 2025. And it appears that is going to be the pattern moving forward. But getting back to Avowed and its advertising, I'm seeing it everywhere. And I find that to be so exciting, because not because it's an Xbox exclusive for now, right? No, it's not what it's about. It's the fact that more people are going to potentially get into Game Pass. More people are going to find Avowed. More people are going to play Avowed, which means that we could get a sequel. Now, and that's really what it means to me. When I say Xbox is winning, the truth of the matter is I'm winning. If Xbox wins, I win better. I win more, because that means that whatever they're making, they're selling. People are playing it. People are talking about it. It's getting good reviews. People are excited about it. That means that pre-production for a sequel starts getting conversated, because people are buying the game. It's going to Game Pass. More people are subscribing to Game Pass. Guess what? More food. You're getting fed even more, right? They made $3 billion last year on Xbox Game Pass. They spend $1 billion. So that's a $2 billion profit. If they keep making money, that means that the powers that be are going to keep building on what we know and love, right? We don't want Game Pass to go away. We want to expand, we want to grow. And I'm starting to see that there is a fever's pitch for this. And it's, I mean, again, it's Obsidian. They have a history. They are like one of the best RPG makers in the business. But I do think that because we're seeing the different screens, we've seen Avowed quite a bit. We've seen a lot of the magic. We've seen a lot of the fighting. You can find it online. They've done a couple of previews with it. But just focusing Silent Cipher on the Avowed marketing, I think it's brilliant. And they're hitting it like just in, like, a lot of people were like, well, how come they didn't, market a month ago? Listen, if you know anything about social media, you could throw a fart on a Thursday and by Saturday, nobody remembers anything, right? That's just the way it is. So it's now 6 days from the launch of it. This is it. They're just starting. It seems like they're really just cranking it up. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Man, I don't know what we're doing throwing farts all over the place.
I know, right? It's gross.
Some concerning behavior. No, so I do want to touch on the Avowed thing, but before that, I want to expound a little bit more on what you were talking about with Game Pass. And,
Sure.
You winning in turn of that happening, right? So let's look at both companies. Okay. So you've got Xbox, who's been expanding out Game Pass. They've been working really hard to build this system, get everything rolling, and they're seeing success with these games. They put stuff in, it gets attention, it gets traction, people purchase microtransactions, whatever. Like, people are supporting the games, and it's continuing to thrive and expand. Because just like you were mentioning, in the past, when some of these comments were said, they had nothing in the chamber in regards to games coming out on a regular cadence. Now we're at a point where they're past what they originally expected, because they were planning on doing one a quarter, and now they're getting to the point where you've got like 2 or 3 a quarter, or 2 or 3 every 4 to 5 months, which is wild. Because again, it goes back to, where are we going to find the time to play all of it? Because other games still come out, life still happens. We can't always be on that service. But just, you look at what Microsoft is doing with it, and how they're able to continue to fund these things, are able to continue and fund these sequels and do these different things. And then you look at what Sony's doing. And Sony came out and literally told you right to our faces, just like a couple weeks ago, if you want any more PlayStation big games, buy our remakes.
Yep.
Why? Because what they're doing right now is not working for them to fund and be sustainable and manage to get these titles out on a regular basis. They balked at the idea of Game Pass. So like, nah, that's not a futuristic thing. We got this first party titles, stuff like that. That's going to fuel us into the future. We're fine. Well, we've seen how this has unfolded. Which one, look at it as, honestly, like, a non-biased consumer, look at both methods and tell me which one you think is working better. And that's where it goes back to what you were saying. If Microsoft does well with this, if these game devs do well with this in Game Pass, we as consumers win. It's not a fanboy thing or anything like that. It's just simply the economics of the system. Game Pass is succeeding. We're seeing more content. Sony's struggling. We're not seeing any content over there, or we're seeing less content. It's no fanboy stuff. It's just being honest and looking at the numbers that are happening right now. In regards to Avowed, yes, the marketing and everything that they've been pushing out there has been really good. I do still come from that timeline where, like, I'm used to seeing marketing and advertising like months in advance in magazines and stuff, because that's the era we grew up in. And I understand that people still want that. They miss those days where we could see the games all the time. It's like you'd see it for 6 months to a year before it came out, and it was constantly ramping up. Like, you still have people like Kojima, where even though the physical like news media and the magazines and stuff, even though that doesn't really exist anymore, he's still taking it on himself to constantly fuel that excitement. He's always posting things to get people excited, get people engaged, because he also came from that time frame, right? Where it's like you're always bringing something out to keep people interested, get people excited. But nowadays, a lot of the generation that we deal with has the attention span or memory of a gnat. And so if you do waste those dollars promoting and supporting this thing like months and months ahead of time, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like you said, you could market it a month ago, and then you see some joker farting into a fan and crop dusting their whole front living room or something in the house, and suddenly your attention shifts off of the game and you forgot about the game.
It's gone.
Because the
Yeah.
attention spans nowadays, we have so much content we see on a regular basis, people forget. It's what it is. But they're doing a really good job at getting all over the place. I heard conversation in the chat earlier about maybe we'll see a trailer during the Super Bowl. It's likely. It's likely. You see it all over the place. You see it on your Samsung TVs, you see it on YouTube, you see it everywhere. They're doing a good job at saturating the market with this advertisement. This is something that they've not always been very good at, and so it's good to see them putting a stronger foot forward, moving into the release of this game. I think that's a really good thing for them, and I'm really excited. Obviously, we talked more about it, but the frames and all that stuff, like locking it in and giving people the option for frames per second, be it 60, 30, 40, whatever. I'm happy to see that they're seeing these feedbacks and they're actually utilizing them to make this approach better.
Yeah, well, they're listening, and that's ultimately what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Listen, great points all around. Fuzzy, let's bring you in on the conversation. Avowed, the marketing, it is in full swing. It is here, there, and everywhere. I think when you start to see, I think someone had posted something. Now, please, chat, help me out here if it's true. I looked it up. I couldn't find it. Did they have it at the Vegas Sphere? Someone had taken a picture, and I don't know if it was doctored or not. So if it was out there, just let me know in the chat. And of course, I'll give you a shout out for it, because I couldn't find it when I was looking, when everyone else was talking. But I know it's in Times Square, and that's a lot of money to put in there. And it's Times Square. It's the center of New York. And like I said, for you to have this on all of your Samsung TVs, they have a deal with Samsung. They have a deal with LG. I don't have any LG TVs, so anybody that is an LG head out there, let me know if you saw it on your screen. I know I've seen it on the PC. I've seen it on my phone. There was a couple of tweets from Aaron Greenberg where he showed that they were showing it in Germany. It's showing up on buses and on trains. They're marketing the H out of this game, and I love to see it because I want to see Obsidian win, right? And you got to understand, folks, this is from the Pillars of Eternity team. I've never played those games. Right, I have no connection to those games whatsoever. So this is new for me. This is a new IP. And if there's one thing that we've learned, especially in today's market, new IPs are very hard to push onto the consumer. People just want to play Call of Duty and Fortnite and Apex Legends and FIFA and Madden and MLB The Show. They want to stay safe. They don't want to waste money. They play what they know. So anytime you get a new IP, it's a bit of a gasp, but it is Obsidian, and they do have a great history of RPGs. But let's get your thoughts on the marketing campaign or the marketing push for this game.
Well, it's great to see that they're taking extra steps, like the Times Square setup. They're doing billboards in certain locations. You're seeing it on YouTube a lot more. The team is streaming on Twitch, although they were doing something more so for charity as opposed to for the game itself. But in general, it's hard to do marketing nowadays compared to like when I was doing that for, well, at least for the auto parts industry, a few years back. Broadcast TV is not what it used to be. So streaming services and getting commercials in that regard can be a bit tricky, locating the perfect audience to put your advertisement in front of. For those that are still on cable tends to be localized now, where the commercials aren't, nationwide. In a lot of cases, they're usually, localized and overriding the, what ones may have been associated with that channel itself. So marketing is always this moving target. And much like Cypher said, I hate slandering the younger generation because it includes my kids and stuff, but it's like, yeah, the attention span, it's like gnats, because things like TikTok, for example, you're just constantly scrolling up, going through 30-second clips. I mean, there are longer clips and stuff, but you got to catch their attention in less than, the first 5 or 6 seconds before they, continue scrolling up, kind of thing. So you got to make it interesting enough to catch their attention for the sit through 15 to 30 seconds, and then hope that they remember to go to their, console or their PC and see if it's available to download and such. So marketing is definitely trickier these days, but the fact that they're, getting it in front of people's faces in more places, Super Bowl would be interesting, but I still think the Game Pass ad would probably be the bigger. I mean, you can have, Avowed as a central focus, but explain Game Pass as a whole. And I think that's where it would be best landed for like a Super Bowl commercial, if it's 30 seconds or more. They also got to get this, this is an Xbox and Play Anywhere more contextualized, so people understand, not that just that their computer could be an Xbox or their phone could be an Xbox, but how that plays out in real life, where you can have multiple family members in the same household playing in the same game at the same time. One could be on a phone, the other could be on a tablet, the other one could be on a laptop or on the console, kind of thing. I think those are the things where, especially if it's a household of gamers like my household was, it's definitely something that they probably need to incorporate in their ads. But seeing Avowed out there, it's right around the corner. The early access aspect, the price cut that they did for the additional content and artwork and stuff is great. But yeah, we've always kind of given them a hard time on their marketing, but they're definitely stepping things up. They've stepped things up on their shows. They're stepping things up on their release cadence. They're stepping up pretty much all the way around. But I think Avowed hopefully is a sign of the times as far as moving forward, how we start to see, the ramp up before a game is released. Like, yeah, I grew up in those days, like you guys talked about, where it's like 6 months in advance, you see the ads on commercials on TV and the magazines and such. But I don't think that there's many gaming magazines that aren't online these days. And we're kind of in that microwave generation where you're standing in front of the microwave talking about hurry up, and it's already cooking the food as fast as possible. So nobody really needs to put stuff out that far in advance to have it in your mind to, either download the game, look for where it's available if you don't already know, kind of thing, things along those lines. But great to see. Hope they continue this pace or even increase this pace with all of their other upcoming releases, like South of Midnight, like Doom: The Dark Ages and such. And, weeks before that they're, to be introduced, do the same thing and continue it on from there and see how it goes.